This week, we're gonna do Doug a huge favor and make it easier for him to turn the wheel by lightening up the front end.
Yeah, we're gonna fill the frame with helium, and that's gonna cause the car to float.
It'll have as much air as his head does.
Welcome to Sam's Garage. Today, gearheads unite as Sam dives into an action-packed episode. First up, Sam tackles the LT1 engine, adding the finishing touches with the front accessories for optimal performance. Then Sam and Doug team up to upgrade the Gentry 427 Cobra with a high-flow aluminum water pump. Next, witness the transformation of a 2023 Suburban as Sam completes the installation of a powerful Whipple Supercharger. And stay tuned as Sam teams up with ACC Performance to install a high-performance transmission in a fully built Camaro. Sam continues the exciting Holley LT1 engine build. He'll be installing the essential engine accessories, bringing this high-performance powerhouse one step closer to life. Get ready because we're just a step away from firing this beast up for the first time.
As you guys can see, we're coming along with our Holley LT1 build. This week, I've got it on the engine run stand. What I'm gonna do is install the front mid accessory kit. Comes with the AC, the alternator, power steering, every piece of hardware you need to completely install this kit. After that, we should be able to put the Terminator X on and crank this guy up. So next I'm going to put the front main seal in. So anytime I put front main seals in or rear main seals, put a little lube on the face of it so that when the crank pulley goes into it, there is no bind because this is a bear to replace. I put some on the outside so it slips in okay, doesn't bind. When you guys are doing thread tape, make sure you do it in the direction where when you go to tighten it, you don't unravel it. You want to go with the sequence of tight, whether it's lefty or righty. Just make sure you know which way you're going. Let me tell you guys, if you do a lot of LS and LT engines, this installer from Summit Racing saves the day. The cool thing about the Holley kit is, look how nice looking that water pump is. I got the black one in my case. Everything bolts onto it. The alternator, the AC, the power steering. We got coolant heater hoses right here, the thermostat, and the water pump is still serviceable. So you can replace this with any AC Delco water pump anytime it fails. The cool thing also is it gives you 2 points to put a heater. Sometimes when we do LS swaps, the engine bay doesn't allow for these heater hoses to come out. So you would have to do a 90 right here and come up or go down. So they give you plugs and fittings so that you can decide whether you want to go on the side or on the bottom. Since I don't know which car I'm going to put this in yet, I'm just going to put mine on the side, and that way if I have to change it, I'll know these are down there, I can just replace it. All right, so sometimes it's important to read the instructions. For instance, this water pump has 2 holes. On the regular LT engine, the E sensor has come off the head on the LS engine and went onto the water pump. So I don't have a water pump, I'm building a motor from scratch, so I have to remember that there's a hole there. If not, it'll be a bad day when you go to fill it up. A regular ECT sensor for an LT or an LS comes with the washer. It's a straight threaded fitting, so therefore you do not use thread tape. You rely on the washer. There is a second hole because Holley's so cool, they know if they're purchasing this must be an aftermarket setup. So you may have a Dakota Digital dash or something. So it gives you a 1/8 pipe thread fitting for an ECT sensor for the instrument cluster. I'm not going to use it right now, so I'm going to go ahead and put this plug in that's provided in the kit. Little thread tape, a little difficult to thread tape this little guy, but try your best. Now, all I got to do is my AC, hook up my alternator, and then the hardest part, which is the power steering, because you have to press the pulley on. So if you guys don't have a press at home, you can always go to your local auto parts store and they'll rent you one. So make sure you take it back there because you got to put in a deposit. All right, there we have it. We got the Holley LT1 mid-mount accessory drive kit fully installed. As you can see, it's completely compact, keeping everything right there in the middle. That way it's easy for engine swaps. And all the components have a good wrap around it when it comes to the belt. You guys make sure to keep the sleeve for your belt because you don't know the part number for this. You can wear it off. You'll be stuck somewhere. You break a belt, go into your glove box, buy a new one at your local Napa Auto Parts. Now next week, we're going to be installing the Terminator X. We're going to make this thing run. I've already made my 2 ignition wires with the 90 degrees. We'll be ready to go.
Welcome back to Sam's Garage, presented by NH Oil Undercoating. Sam and Doug tackle a crucial upgrade to the Gentry 427 Cobra. They'll be installing a new high-flow aluminum water pump designed to keep this high-performance engine running cool and efficient. Watch as they expertly swap out the old pump, ensuring better cooling and performance for this classic beauty.
Doug and I are going to be attacking the cooling system on the Cobra this week.
We're going to go ahead and change the water pump. We're going to go ahead and take the cast iron one out. That pump's been in there for, going close to 30 years, Sam, so we know it's about to fail. So we're going to put an aluminum one, save a little bit of weight. It's going to have a higher efficiency. It's going to help the cooling system. It's a win-win everywhere. So.
Absolutely. But before we do that, we're going to go ahead and take a magnet because it is blue, and we're going to make sure this guy doesn't have an aluminum one on there already. And it doesn't.
And it doesn't. Yeah, well, back in the day, I'm not sure they had aluminum ones back then.
Very true.
But they might, I'm not sure.
All right, so we got a nice Edelbrock aluminum high-flow water pump. We're gonna go ahead and swap it out. This should be pretty easy. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, it should be easy. Well, Sam, it shouldn't have been any kind of cooling problem because we didn't have a thermostat.
So you know what that does, that a lot of people don't know. A lot of people think that if you take out the thermostat, you should be running cooler. Well, if you're going down the road, you're gonna run cooler because then eventually it'll cool soak the cooling system.
Right.
But eventually it'll also heat soak the cooling system because it never stops to cool, to transfer.
Right.
That's why a thermostat's so important. So you guys, don't take out the thermostat, fix the problem. Put the thermostat back in. You can go to a lower temperature thermostat, but don't just take it out or gut it. All right, Fresh, let's see what the real weight saving is and see if the money was worth it, okay?
All righty, Sam. Holy smokes, Sam. 7.7 pounds.
All right, 7.7. That's almost a gallon of water. 4.4.
That was an awful lot of work.
Oh man, look at that, 2.6.
That was a lot of work, Sam, for just a few pounds. But you know what? The flow on this is going to be a lot better.
Yeah. And it's going to be more efficient and cool better.
Yeah, and that one, we know that seal was going to go pretty soon, so just age.
Where the gusset right there on the body of the pump is interfering with this bracket, I say we just knock that guy off right here.
Yeah, you can just take a little bit off the top there and we'll just fit it and change it until it fits. If we had to, we can clean up a little bit on this casting. It won't hurt it, but yeah, right there on the top, it's fine. There's a couple things you want to check. When you put a new belt on, make sure that the belt is lined, that neither one of the pulleys is slightly cocked, that they're in alignment, because if they're misaligned, you're going to have excess of wear on the belt and ultimately it's going to fail. Then the next thing is tightening the belt. I use a little pry bar in here. You want about 3/4 of an inch, 1/2 inch of travel up and down. If it's too tight, too taut, you're going to wear out the belt. It's going to create a problem. If it's too loose, obviously, the pump's not going to work correctly. If those things are correct, then you're good to go. It looks great.
It does look
Yeah, it really looks nice. You know, at first I wasn't sure whether we should have had it the Ford blue, but now that satin finish on that aluminum matches the intake manifold. Really happy. And on top of that, I know the seals are good. I know everything's going to hold up. We inspected the belts. We inspected the hose. Anything that we thought needed to be changed. So the reliability of this is going to be great. And I think it looks wonderful. A higher efficient pump. We accomplished a lot.
And what I recommend in this case is you guys use distilled water, a little bit of antifreeze for lubricity, and water wetter.
Water wetter. A lot of people don't realize is they put a lot of antifreeze, and antifreeze is real important, especially when you live in a cold environment. If you're living somewhere like Florida, your concentrations don't have to be as high. It doesn't get as good heat transfer, and that's where the water wetter comes into play. The water wetter lets the water do its job, and it takes the heat out of the engine.
And if you guys want your own Edelbrock water pump, you can go to Summit Racing and get one. I'm here with Mark and Cole and Joe Jr., and they're two franchisees. And I want to know, if I want to become a franchisee, is there anything involved? Do I get trained? What's going to happen once I come ask you what I need to do?
Well, once you come on board, we're going to supply you with the spray equipment, the trailer, of course. We're going to train you here at our facility how to use it, the air compressors, everything. We're also going to apply you with the scheduling software so you can take before and after pictures, submit everything to Carfax. You'll have an app right on your phone, and you retain all your customers. So everything from A to Z.
That's correct. Whenever we did the training, I left here fully ready to be on my own, having everything explained to me very well and very clearly. So it was a big help.
I'm looking forward to learning from Joe on just all the details. Even having started and done it a little on the side, I know there's a lot I can learn from the guys who have done thousands of cars.
And half of this is the training, but the other part is the ongoing support. Any problems that you guys come across, we've probably already been there, done that. So you contact us and we'll help you and walk you through each step of that.
Welcome back to more Sam's Garage, presented by NHOU. Sam's about to take this 2023 Chevy Suburban to new heights by installing a cutting-edge Whipple Supercharger. Let's check out how he transforms this family SUV into a high-performance powerhouse ready to dominate the road.
All right, so I finally got my Whipple Supercharger in for the 2023 Suburban, and this is where you guys don't want to be macho. You actually want to read the instructions before you do the job and not in the middle of it when you're actually in a bind. This is going to be cool. First thing we're going to do is take off the front fascia, dismantle it, and go from there. The very first step you want to take in this installation is going to be a full vehicle inspection. You want to make sure the vehicle is up to snuff. First step after the inspection is going to be to remove the computer and send it off to Trifecta Performance so that while they're doing their programming on the computer, you could be doing the installation on the supercharger. When you're doing your instructions, make sure you read it carefully, because in the instructions it says just remove the grille. Well, to remove the grille and that frame you see, you have to remove the whole bumper and the headlights. This is what you really have to do. Doesn't take long at all, probably 30 minutes. If you know you just have to do it, just go in there and do it. Now we got all the room we need to put on our aftercooler and continue on with our install. We took the supplied brackets, it says it in the instructions, to go in here and drill out these holes to a 1/4 inch. Keep them loose. Don't forget the retainers, they're in the kit. They go right here and they center the aftercooler to the brackets. We're going to tighten it on the brackets first because I want the aftercooler to be centered onto the brackets, and then we'll tighten the brackets. Install the intercooler pump on the bracket that goes onto the core support, one 10mm bolt holding it in. You see the hose comes in like this. It goes through the radiator support shield, so you're gonna have to cut a little notch to allow for this hose to go through. It's protected. It's gonna come down and go into the inlet of the pump, and then we're gonna continue on with the routing coming out of the pump into the reservoir and into the intercooler. In the kit, Whipple Superchargers also provides new set of colder spark plugs. Colder heat range is very important. You guys do switch them out because you want the cylinder combustion chamber to be cooler, and you're going to gap the spark plugs down to 32 thousandths. the pulley system. This vehicle, believe it or not, doesn't have a tensioner. We've gone back to the old days. I don't understand why. They give you a new bracket to hold a tensioner, and they give you a tensioner so that you can put it in the system, and then you're gonna route the new belt with a tensioner, 2 other pulleys, and everything's gonna work just fine. There is a spacer for the throttle body. Make sure to use the hardware provided for the spacer for the throttle body, because the factory ones are a little bit longer, and what's gonna happen is you're gonna damage that spacer they gave you. We're gonna reuse the factory air box, but Whipple does provide you with a high flow green filter element. Make sure you guys do install that, and then you're gonna be installing your new intake pipe. Now all I gotta do is wait for my computer to come in. We'll plug it up. We'll test it, make sure that we have everything under control, no check engine lights. This system is fully CARB approved, so it is 50 state legal. The computer will be locked when you get it back, so you guys don't mess with it. And that way you can pass emissions and the EPA won't get mad at you for anything. This thing's fully complete. James is gonna love it. It should make about 500 horsepower to the wheels, and he saves about $50,000 by not having to buy a Blackhawk edition. This thing looks awesome. I can't wait for it to be done. All you gotta do is wait for the computer.
Welcome back to Sam's Garage, presented by NHOU. Sam, along with Nelson and Nora from ACC Performance, are about to give this fully built 3rd gen Camaro a serious performance boost. Stay tuned as they expertly install a brand new transmission, unleashing even more power and excitement from this classic muscle car.
We got ACC Performance in the house, Nelson and Nora, Boss Hog Torque Converter. This engine has been built by Bobby Bueller with Manley components and JE pistons along with valve train, Gwatney Performance ported heads. So it's definitely a candidate for a Boss Hog Torque Converter because we don't want to melt the transmission, right?
That's correct.
Right, so what we're gonna do is have Nora, who's been in the motorsports industry now 5 years, started at 5 years old. She's been on the show several times showing you guys how a torque converter works. Today, we're gonna have her help me put this car together so that the youth out there can start getting engaged and doing the same kind of thing that Nora's doing at home. You ready?
Yes.
Let's do this.
An LS torque converter. This is the top, also known as the back.
Is a Torrington style bearing.
And this is a stator.
The stator is what redirects the transmission fluid back against the turbine. That's what also allows you to come to a stop. Got a great function on being able to apply back pressure against the turbine. That's an encased bearing, like a Torrington bearing as well.
This is the turbine.
A spring for the dampener. There's a shelf right here, and that's where the O-ring rides on the back side of the turbine to give you lockup, both on our 700s and 4L60s.
This is the bottom, and that's how you do it.
Let's get this party started.
See this power wire? It's a common problem where somebody will be putting in a transmission and a wire will get caught between the bell housing and the engine and cause a load of problems. So you gotta be very careful that when you're doing the transmission, that you just move everything over and you make sure there's nothing in the groove. When you put it on your hardware, then you can tighten it. But it's very important to pay attention anytime you're working on a car because you can very easily burn it down. We got a dowel pin right there, all centered up. You look straight up, you can see one bolt there, one bolt up there, and then we have one bolt over there, and that's gonna house the dipstick as well. This has an engine swap in it, right? These old muscle cars, they had the wires coming to the starter. These 3 wires right here are the 3 wires that power up the room. This wire here comes from the alternator to the starter, and then it's gonna have a power cable that goes from the starter to the battery positive terminal. So the union, where they all get their power from, the common place, is gonna be the big bolt on the starter, the power wire. What we're gonna do is we are going to strip these wires like we did. See that? We stripped them. We're gonna put them together. Then we put the heat shrink over it, and then we take the heat, a little bit of fire, And we do this away from fuel lines, and we shrink the heat shrink. Now we have a protected union of wires. With this is that we're gonna wrap it around those wires that go near the starter because the headers live there, the exhaust system, right? And we don't want them to get affected by the heat. So this gives a little added protection. Because these are all power wires. So if anything happens here, either fuses blow if you're smart, or the car burns down if you're not smart. Well, Nora, thank you so much for helping me with this install with the Trans Depot transmission, and thank you for the torque converter. You guys did an awesome job, and you learned a lot, didn't you? Now all we gotta do is what? The oil dipstick tube. This is the one item I forget in every single build, and I gotta put it on last. It's harder than the entire engine swap.
Be sure to check out Sam's Garage on these other media platforms. Send us questions and feedback to info@samsgaragetv.com. From fine-tuning an LT1 engine to perfection, to upgrading a Gentry 427 Cobra with an aluminum water pump, we added a powerful Whipple Supercharger to a 2023 Suburban and teamed up with ACC Performance to install a high-performance transmission in a fully built Camaro. Thanks for joining us on this thrilling ride.